Hey y'all, Moses here. Today I'm bringing you 5 advanced tips and tricks to help you master Pubg. Now, before we get started, I want to make a few things clear. Mastering Playerunknowns Battlegrounds is a matter of practice, and in the same sense, these topics I'm about to cover also require practice to master. The basic principles of these topics are actually relatively simple, but the way you utilize these tools is what will take you from a beginner or intermediate level player to the next level, whatever that means to you. As always, some of what I say might not fit in with your individual playstyle or comfort level, and that's okay. Learning and getting better is about finding what works for you and perfecting it. So with that said, let's get started. The first thing I want to cover is the setup and use of a crouch jump bind. A lot of other channels have covered this, so it might not be news to you, but I do it slightly differently, and I'll get into why in a second. The first thing you want to do is select the alternate jump box. The only caveat to this bind is that you need to use the shift key in combination with whatever other key you're going to use to execute your jump. I use shift V. So what you need to do is hold shift and press V and then release both keys. Next, select the alternate crouch bind and hold shift and keep it pressed. Then press the V key and release it while still holding down shift. Now simply click the primary jump bind and release the shift key. Hit apply and you're all set.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
The reason you should leave space as your primary jump key is to maintain your mobility, because if you constantly use the crouch jump bind, you will often be held in a crouch, which can slow you down, like when you're trying to jump up a hill. The crouch jump allows you to effortlessly jump through windows all over the map, easily traverse otherwise awkward walls and fences, and easily escape balconies. This bind is a must for the player looking to become a better flanker and generally increase their mobility. The second topic is that of the feint and repeek. A feint is a maneuver in which you try to make an opponent believe you are weak to draw them into a position to attack, or mislead them into thinking you're doing one thing and then doing something else. I frequently do this after being attacked by an enemy, and then briefly retreating before surging back to attack them. My go-to feint maneuver is what is called a repeek. For clarity, if peeking an enemy is the beginning of an engagement that doesn't immediately result in either you or your enemy's death, a repeek is repeating the same maneuver to try to catch your opponent moving or peeking back at you. This is an essential move in the first-person game mode, as visual information can only be gathered by moving out of cover. It can also be dangerous if used incorrectly. I think this clip illustrates my point fairly easily, so let's just break it down. The early game, my partner's dead, and I'm in a pistol battle with this guy at the diner in Yasnaya. Now, he's taken a couple of shots at me, I've been peeking left to right, and he's landed a couple of shots, so I retreat a little bit further back, don't peek for half a second, and then surge through the doorway just as he is going to press. That puts him off guard, and I'm able to secure the kill. He calls for his teammate to come and help him, and I kill him too. This next tip is a bit of a double-edged sword. And fair warning, it can fail spectacularly if you're not careful. First-person Pubg is a game of mobility and precision. So when attempting to take fights, you can easily use your mobility and precision to bait enemies into thinking they can get an easy kill. Essentially, in this situation, you're putting yourself into controlled danger in order to force an enemy to confront you one-on-one instead of holding a defensive position. Controlled danger might sound kind of stupid, but let me show you a few examples. This one's a bit of a unique situation where the player on my left has done significant damage to me and is trying to finish me off, whereas the second to last remaining player is in the field ahead of us, now flanking to get the best position for the last circle. I fire at the guy in the field in hopes to draw his attention toward the both of us, so that if he has a better angle on the guy that I can't see on the other side of the rock, that he could potentially take him out. The guy who was pressing me originally then throws a grenade and goes for a last-ditch press onto my position, and I take him out, following that with the SKS kill on the last guy for the win.
Good night, SKS guy.
The next point is actually two things, and these are staples from many FPS games like CSGO, but their use in PUBG is slightly different and contextual. Pre-aiming and pre-firing can give you the advantage in a one-to-one fight that might otherwise result in your enemy getting the first shot off, or latency being the deciding factor whether you live or die. Pre-aiming is the act of placing your crosshair on an area where you think an enemy might move, peek, or fire from. Pre-aiming is not a specific move per se, but the general act of good crosshair placement that is independent of where your character is moving. Think of your crosshair like the turret of a tank. Just because you are moving from left to right in a strafe doesn't mean you shouldn't be keeping your aim point locked to a spot where you intend to fire, or where you anticipate the enemy. If pre-aiming is simple, then the act of pre-firing is a little bit more complex. Essentially, to execute a proper pre-fire, you need to have a lot of audio information, be relatively close to the enemy, and be able to predict their direction of travel. Pre-firing is the act of shooting your weapon just before the enemy appears around a corner, in a doorway, or through a window. Because you're firing just before the enemy appears, you are forcing them to walk directly into your bullets and give almost zero time for them to react. And if all goes well, they'll be dead before firing a shot. You guys have been giving me hard times about the script, so I want to kind of end this video with a little bit of a heart-to-heart between you and I, the viewer, okay? So this is real Moses, not script Moses, coming at you. Essentially what I wanted to say is that these tips and tricks are super subjective, and maybe you're a little disappointed with some of the things I covered because you were looking for 5 specific things that'll allow you to become a top tier or 1% tier player. Ultimately, the first thing I said in this video is about practice. And practicing is the most important aspect of this game. It's not going to be 5 tips. It's not going to be any 5 things because the games change from round to round. So just keep practicing, keep trying your best, and just realize that even I have to learn sometimes. So thank you for watching the video. Hit the like button if you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this in the future. And of course, come check us out on Twitch at twitch.tv/WTFMoses. And until next time, I'll see you out there.